Alright everyone, this is my Xanax, also known as alprazolam, the anxiety drug presentation. I'm going to jump right into it. Xanax was created in 1971 by Dr. Jackson Hester of the Upjohn Company. Dr. Jackson Hester passed away in 2013. He was known, his obituary states that he was a very intellectual and reserved and kind of quiet person. Thought that was kind of cool. Figured I'd point it out. Most individuals now, I wanted to state this, are pretty aware of Xanax and its purported effects. People, most people have heard of Xanax. Odds are you've heard of Xanax. It's in music, it's in books, it's in popular media, it's in movies, it's everywhere. People have heard about it. They're pretty aware of its effects. So I'm going to kind of go into this assuming you've at least probably seen this for, kind of segment structure, in one way or another. You've heard about its effects. It's usually has a calming effect, or is used to treat anxiety and such. Now, the route and metabolism of Xanax is normally, as you know, the pill, it's taken through the mouth, you swallow it, take it with some water. But also, doctors sometimes will recommend that people put it under their tongue and let it dissolve. And this, at face value, this might seem that it's because, maybe it helps it break down so that by the time you swallow it or goes in your stomach, it's going to be absorbed easier. It's actually just because the mucosa underneath your tongue will actually allow the Xanax to go into your bloodstream quicker, and it can pass the first pass metabolism in the liver, which is just kind of a medical term that's kind of where most things get filtered out. So if you were to swallow the pill, a lot of that Xanax is going to get sent to excretion or metabolized, the first time around. Whereas if you hold it on your tongue, it can get absorbed much quicker. Now, once it's in the bloodstream, it's going to bind to albumin, which is a protein in your blood, and it kind of helps with the sustained delivery distribution in your body. So it kind of helps, if it didn't have that, it would probably go through your body. Maybe it'd hit quicker, or maybe it would metabolize quicker. But binding to albumin really allows it to kind of stick around and just kind of run its course for a duration. Now, it's metabolized primarily by the P450 family enzymes, which are in the liver, and those are going to break it down into kind of similar structures, similar molecules, but they're not going to be able to affect what we're about to talk about in a second nearly as much. The last thing is they're lipophilic, which means they can pass through the phospholipid bilayer, which is the cell membrane, which is kind of this insulating thing that prevents polar molecules from passing through easily, because the inside's hydrophobic and the outside's hydrophilic, and Xanax is mostly non-polar. Okay, now the action mechanism, they're GABA alpha receptors on neurons in your brain, and this is basically where Xanax primarily is trying to act upon. Now, once it gets to your brain through the blood-brain barrier, it's going to go for these proteins on your neurons on the postsynaptic terminal, and it's going to cause this effect that's going to allow the protein channels on these neurons to let in more chlorine, which is being triggered by an amino acid called GABA. And once the inside has got a lot more chlorine in it going on, they're going to reach the state of hyperpolarization, which is going to result in relaxation, because the action potential it's going to be farther away from the action potential, so the neurons are going to be firing less, you're going to be less freaking out. It's all driven by the nervous system. Now, the structure in sympathis, I'm just going to say this really quick. The IUPAC name is 8-chloral-1-methyl-6-phenyl 4H124-triazolo 4,3-alpha-1,4-benzodiazepine. And this, as you can see, is the structure here on the right. It's named using this numbering system that's focused around the benzodiazepine group, which is these two big rings in the middle. It's a fusion of a benzene ring and a severed-membered heterocyclic ring. Benzodiazepine, the di is because of two nitrogens. Now, the dependence and withdrawal of Xanax is, in this country, is 12,000 individuals died from benzodiazepine-related overdose in 2020. In the UK, it was a little bit lower. I think it was 2.5 per 100,000. Now, in America, it's more like 3.2, 3.7 per 100,000. And I just figured I'd point out that this possibly could be because they actually have a law that they passed in the UK, which is their universal health care system doesn't prescribe Xanax anymore. So you can still get it through a private prescription, through a private doctor, but their universal medical doctors don't prescribe it anymore, so perhaps it had an influence on that. Last thing I wanted to say is I think that whatever the future of Xanax holds, I think that there's going to be a lot of valuable research we can gain from all the data that we've already gathered up until this point. Thank you very much.